Hey everyone, so today we're going to be going over a quick tier list that I'm going to be making for the Bronzebeard Ret Paladin and the Legendary Enchants that we have access to in the alpha. So this is completely theory based. We don't know how numbers are going to be tuned at max level. We don't know how many more Legendary Enchants they might add. We don't know if there's more Epic Enchants they're going to add. This isn't even taking into account how epic enchants might change what's better than. This is just purely looking at these enchants on their own in a theoretical level. If these are all doing similar damage, what's going to be the best for Mythic Plus? What's going to be the best for rating content? And I'm going to do my best to explain why I think it belongs into whatever category it go to. So let's go with the easy ones. Mythic Plus rating. This is Retribution Mastery. Completely for fun should never be viable. It's super boring. Um, I personally thought these were going to be placeholders for when you're leveling, that you would have something in the slot. That didn't end up being the case. I'm not really sure why these exist, other than they're just boring. Let's get to the more interesting ones. So this is actually uh, Guardian of Ancient Kings. We can't. It's grayed out because we can't actually use this one yet. It requires level 60 to have access to Divine Storm. Um, but it should be pretty good. In Mythic Plus, it's definitely like an alternative option in Mythic Plus where you want to play this because it's your favorite. How it would play in Mythic Plus, you would pop Wings on one big trash pull, go to the next. Now you would pop Guardian on the second one, go to the next, pop Wings. You would be cycling these cooldowns to always have a cooldown up for every big pull. Um, I don't think it's going to be the best, though. It might honestly end up being the best. I'm going to put it in the best at very high end Mythic Plus. Because very high end Mythic Plus, you have like 1 minute long big trash pulls. And always having a cooldown up for those is super valuable. For rating, though, it's completely situational based. You would basically need either a super long burn phase, meaning a burn phase that's longer than your wings duration, or you would need multiple burn phases, which, maybe that exists, but there's also other options here for those multiple burn phases that are potentially better. The only way this is ever like the go-to in a raid is if you have an AoE burn phase that is occurring every minute, and exactly every minute. And it is long enough that Hammerstorm isn't better. Execution sentence. Um, where do we want to put you? I think you're a situational mythic play. It's just too awkward in mythic in dungeons. The range on the AoE section of it is just not very big. Um, if there's ever a dungeon where there's just every trash pack has one super big priority target that just needs to die, could see a situational use for it there. Um, Maybe they do some kind of affix where there's just like a big mob that has to die in every trash bag. But unless that happens, it's very situational. Wouldn't really use it. In raid, it's probably an alternative option. you have a raid boss, you're hit. It's probably just pretty good in most boss fights. It has a pretty interesting niche where if there's boss that spawns a bunch of small fry that are all cluttered on the boss, you can time it perfectly, you can do absolute massive damage. For example, in retail, they have a few fights where everyone gets rooted and you have to damage the roots to break the roots. You could time this so that it does the burst of AoE damage right when these roots come out and break all the roots. So it has some pretty interesting options there. I don't think it'll be the best in raid because it is mostly single target. It's very clunky to use an AoE. But I do think if you enjoy playing it, you'll probably be playing it a lot on most fights. Alright, we have Hammerstorm. This is a very good option for Mythic Plus. Um, Potentially usable basically in the same situations as Guardian of the Ancient, except this exists on every pull. So you're gonna have one big pull with this and wings, and then every other pull where you don't have wings. You're still gonna be doing good damage with this. You're just maybe not doing as much damage as Guardian of the Ancient Kings. But the reverse of that is that when you have this and wings, you're going to do a shitload of damage. This is also probably the best option for low Mythic Plus, because when things die very quickly, this becomes better and better. It only has a 5-second duration, and it has the shortest cooldown. For Raid, though, Hammerstorm becomes extremely situational. Um, really would only use it if there was a fight where the cooldown lined up perfectly with AoE. Like if the boss spawned ads every 40 seconds or every 45 seconds, maybe even every minute, you might hold it for a minute. But at the same time, like Guardian might just be better in that same scenario. Or if the other scenario, if there was just a super, super, super big AoE, like one big AoE moment in a fight, and that's it. And you pop this with wings, and it's uncapped AoE. If it's capped AoE, meaning it's only like 3 or 4 targets, Guardian's probably going to be better. But if it's ever like a super big uncapped AoE moment one time in the fight, and you just need as much, and it's very, very important that everyone kills these as quickly as possible or the raid wipes, this might be a go-to, because it's really not that bad in single target. Like it's not a huge single target loss, because it is just an extra button that does decent single target. Now we have everyone's favorite or least favorite one with the light. I think in Mythic Plus, it's an alternative option. I don't think it's the best option. I think if you're somebody who doesn't want to think, you don't want to have to do anything besides play your normal rotation in Mythic Plus, um, it'll probably be the go-to. Now for Raid, I kind of want to put it here. The main reason being what I just said about it being no thought process, just more damage. Um, Gonna make it the easiest to play. It also, compared to these other ones that are going to be at the top for rating, has the best AoE option without sacrificing single target. You're losing 0 single target, you're gaining single target, and you're gaining AoE. But yeah, I think I'm actually going to put one of the light top for the raid if it's balanced how it should be. Meaning it is worth itemizing for, it's worth obtaining. I'm actually going to put a second raid in S tier because if this works how it should, you're going to basically be gearing specifically for this build, which will make it kind of less flexible. So I want to put something else in the best because this might be the best with spell power gear, but it might not be the best with other gear. So I think we're actually going to put Twist of Faith as the best raid option outside of spell power gear if you're using traditional gear. The main reason for that is just consistency damage. Templar's Verdict can be extremely inconsistent. It has, I want to put it, I want to put it here. It has situations where you would use it. For example, if there's priority ads that you don't even want to be cleaving off of, you want to just swap full single target to those ads, it can do a bit of good burst damage. But I think in the overwhelming majority of boss fights, Twist of Faith, your single target is going to be the best. The only reason one with the light is going to be higher is because one with the light doesn't, like, it just has AoE. Twist of Faith, because it's not giving you any amount of extra AoE, it should just be balanced to be the highest single throughput. It should technically be tied with Templar's Verdict, but Templar's Verdict is more awkward and clunky to play. And also has the problem of its physical damage based, which just ends up meaning raid bosses aren't going to take as much, whereas Twist of Faith is holy damage, so it'll do a little bit more in raid, even if these were doing the same damage against neutral armor mobs. It's also just, in my opinion, less fun to play. But who knows? Maybe it'll scale really, really well with haste. Maybe with a ton of haste, it ends up just crushing. But I personally would value these two over. Now, Mythic Plus, I don't think you would ever use Twist of Faith in Mythic Plus. It's just too much effort to maintain. It does no AoE. Mythic Plus is mostly about AoE. And I'm gonna have to put this in the same boat for the exact same reason. It is no AoE. Don't play a spec that does no AoE in Mythic Plus. Even if it's tyrannical. These will do close enough single target. Or there's other things that do close enough in single target, but also have a little bit of AoE. Yeah, that's the quick rundown. Once again, these are based on if they do comparable damage. Obviously, it may end up being that, oh, maybe one with the light is just fucking dog shit and no one ever runs it. Or maybe Twist of Faith, there's just no good damage. Maybe like Seal Command right now is broken, but if there's no other good seal, then Twist of Fate isn't worth running. So we will see in time when we get to level 60, we get actual raid gear, we get actual raid fights. But for now, I think this is a pretty good estimation of how things are going to play out. All right. Thank you for watching.